Hey designers, this is the start of putting together your Surreal collage. Right now I have just a couple of my images open. You'll need at least 6, but I'm starting with the background and a couple that I'll cut out and mask and put into my new document. So before you start, you do need to make a new document. We are printing 8.5 by 11, so it needs to be that size. Don't drag one picture into another because the resolution tends to change. So we're going to do File, New. In this case, I want my document to go vertical. You are going to choose whether you want horizontal or vertical. So under Print, we are clicking on Letter. You can see the 8.5 by 11. I'm keeping the orientation vertical. You can choose horizontal if you'd like. I'm going to rename it. And we'll say create. So from here, I'm going to start by getting my background in. So I'm going to go to Window, Arrange, and choose, I'm going to start with 2 up, and that shows both my document and my background image. If it didn't, since I have multiple pictures open, I would choose maybe 3 or 4 up until I saw the one I wanted. Now I need to click on the tab for my background picture. I'm going to click and drag in the layers over to my blank document, and then I'm going to change my view. So Window, Arrange, and I'm going to consolidate so I just see that one document, the Surreal collage I named. All right, now my image is way too big for my document size. So I'm going to zoom out, and then I'm going to do a Control T, which is going to transform the size of it. I'm going to go to the corner, and I'm going to hold Shift to keep my proportions. When I do that, it does make it a little bit small. Okay, so once I've shrunk it down, it's too small to fit on the entire paper. So I'm not going to pull it up and stretch it because that would distort it and make it look odd. So instead, I'm going to do this again. So Control T, holding Shift to keep those proportions, bringing it in, and then it could be a vertical picture. So I'm just going to come and rotate it. If I hold Shift, should snap it to a particular degree, 90 degrees. That looks great. So now I'm going to position it in the corner, hold Shift once again, and drag it out till it fits in. All right, so now I have my background positioned. I'm going to press Enter after Transform to get rid of that bounding box. And I'm ready to start adding in my images. So from here, I'm going to add in the moon. So I'm going to do Window, Arrange. I'll try 2 up again. I don't need the stars picture anymore, so I'm going to close that, and then I'll do Window, Arrange, 2 up. And I've got my moon one, so this time I can either cut out the background before I drag it in or after, your choice, but I'm going to bring it in first, and then I'll do Window, Arrange, Consolidate all tabs. And then when I work on taking out that black background, so I only have the moon, I'm just going to make sure I'm clicked on layer 2. In this case, the black background is totally dark, all one color. I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to first try the magic wand, which is underneath the quick selection. So I'm just going to click on the background. That looks like it selected all of the background. We want to make sure before we mask out the part that we don't want, our selection needs to be on what we want to keep. So right now, if I went to the mask, it would do the reverse. So if you want to create a shape where you see through part of it, you could do this. In this case, I want to keep the moon. So I'm going to go up to Select and then Inverse. Now the selection should be on the moon. So when I click on the mask, it takes away that background area. And then over in my layer 2, I can see that it is dark on the outside where that area would be. All right, so now I'm going to come in and clean up some of this. So I'm going to right click on my mask, the black and white part. I'm going to click on Select and Mask. And I am going to just bring down my opacity on my view a little bit. And I'm seeing a little bit of a dark edge through here. I don't mind the roughness, but I could smooth it out a little bit. So I'm going to bring the smooth up a little ways just to even it out. And then I can actually shift the edge in a little bit so that I don't see as much of that black. So I'm going to create a shift. And then because this edge is so detailed and kind of rough, very specific, small little areas, I'm going to try using the Refine Edge tool. I'm going to zoom in, make my brush a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to click and drag along here, and that should move in some of my edges. You can see it's making them look soft and fuzzy. If that's what you want for your picture, keep it. I'll show you what it looks like when I exit out of here. But if you want those rough edges for it to fade one part into another, you don't have to do this. This works really well on hair or little fine details. It might be a little soft for the moon, but we'll see once I exit. All right, I'm going to say okay. And in this case, I don't like how the edge of the moon looks, so I'm going to undo it in my history. But you might want to keep it that way. All right, I'm also seeing a little bit of an edge of the outside here that didn't get caught. So I'm going to go back into Refine Edge, or Select and Mask, excuse me. And I'm just going to zoom out so I can see all of that edge. And this time I can come in with a regular paintbrush. And I want to subtract from my selection. So I'm just going to click. I'm going to make the brush big. This means that none of this area will be selected. So it's going to get rid of that line. I went too far. Control Z. And then none of that should show. All right, say okay, and disappears on that side. All right, so now that I have this, I don't know exactly where it goes yet, but I know it's not going to be that big, so I'm going to do Control T, Shift and drag, make it smaller. Nope. Control T again. All right. Next, I'm going to choose this one. This one also has a dark edge, but this time I'm going to try the quick selection. I'm going to do the plus so that I'm selecting different parts of the hand. It might have a tricky, yep, it's having a little bit of a tricky time over on the side here. So I'll actually come back with the subtract from selection. So I'm going to do the minus brush, and I'm going to click and drag. I'm actually going to just click next to this. I'm not dragging, because then it'll start to choose the parts that it thinks works best. Some of this is correct, some of it is not. And then because it missed a few areas, I'll add my mask to this. Super rough, doesn't look great. So I'm going to right click on the mask. I'm going to do select and mask again. I'm going to go to the smooth. I'm going to smooth that edge out, which already looks better. And then this time I'll come in just with my regular brush. I'm going to add to, my selection in some of this part. So now I can bring back part of the image that was lost when the selection, when the quick selection couldn't quite get it right.